Hi, everyone. It's Kim Hughes, and today we have Garrett Maroon. He is the author of the Balanced Breakthrough book that's coming out in November. And he is going to have a conversation with us today talking about how he has taken his business in a new direction, and it has been based on his faith and putting his priorities in front of himself so that he knows what he needs to do to grow his business. So today we're going to talk about referral marketing, and Garrett is going to give you a whole lot of um, nuggets that you can walk away with.
Welcome to the Unstoppable Real Estate Agents Podcast. I'm your host and real estate productivity expert, Kim Hughes. Join me as we focus on real strategies and implement real solutions designed for you to achieve major success in your business and life while getting you organized.
I'm going to kind of give it to Garrett. And so, Garrett, if you don't mind, just kind of give us a little background of you and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah. So a lot of pressure to give him a lot of nuggets, but I'll do my best, Kim. That's for sure. I'm glad to be here. Yeah. So I started in real estate in 2014. I was an assistant director of admission at a university, and my wife Rachel. We didn't have kids at the time. We've got 5 little ones now, but we didn't have kids at the time. And she came up to me and said, "I think you'd be good at real estate." And I said, "I don't know. The commission, like that's scary. I don't know." I was making, I don't know, $40,000 a year. And she said, "Well, if we're ever going to have kids and I want to stay home, it's not going to happen here." So I said, "Okay, let me try this real estate thing." So I got in, and it was not beautiful at the beginning, right? A lot of agents just come in with an idea that it's going to be simple and easy, and you're going to get business right away. So Kim, my wife Rachel, and I gave me 3 months. We said, "I've got 3 months to get a deal. If I don't, this must not be for me, and I'm going to get out." Well, I remember the conversation at 3 months, that dinner that night. I hadn't sold a house, and I told Rachel, I think I can figure this out. Can I have another 3 months?" And we said yes, and in the Lord's kindness, I sold my first house at 5.5 months, and it just continued to grow and build from there. And it's been an amazing journey in the last 11 years. I've got a small team. We've sold 650 homes, or I have personally, in just relationships in the past 11 years. And it's been an amazing journey. The Lord's been really faithful to us. So yeah, happy to share anything and everything along the way.
I love that, and I think that it's very important for people to understand, you have a goal, and, every agent has a goal in their business. It's just how do you achieve the goal is gonna be different for every person,
Right.
and following your faith and putting everything in God's lap and saying, "I'm giving you control," is a beautiful thing, in my
Yeah.
opinion, and, a lot of people may not agree, and that's okay. You can take away from this what you will and apply it to your business. So,
Yeah, it's good.
a couple of things that I want to jump into because you have some really good stuff here. So, when I was doing my research and everything on you and looking at what your book is about and everything, I was very like, oh my gosh, this is what we preach all day long to our clients.
Mhm.
And so, what I'd like to kind of jump in on the first thing, unless you would rather start somewhere else, is let's talk about the PDA formula.
Yeah.
That is pretty impressive, and so I think if all the agents will lean in a little bit, I think this is where you're gonna find some great nuggets to walk away with. So,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, would you start there?
Let's do it. So the PDA formula, right? It's not the PDA from high school where, your friends were holding hands and you're like, "Ooh, that's gross. Stop the public displays of affection," right? This is how do you build a predictable, dollar productive or profitable business that aligns with who you are. So to your point, faith is what aligns with me, but if your listener doesn't, that's fine. There is something that is in alignment with you. We'll talk about that. So how do we build a predictable, profitable business that aligns with who you are? So the predictability piece, and I'll chop it up and then you tell me whatever you want me to expand. The predictability piece, it starts by creating what I call the lead generation recipe, right? So our grandma, your grandma, the listener, she didn't go on Google and find her secret cake recipe, right? Google didn't exist. There was no chat GPT. What did grandma do? Grandma said, well, if I put these ingredients in, and I mix them together and I bake that cake. When it comes out, I'll taste it to see, was that what I wanted or was it not what I wanted? And she's going to taste it. She's going to tweak it and she's going to keep doing that. She didn't get it right the first time. She's going to keep doing that until she says, you know what? This is my secret recipe, right? Now maybe she didn't call it her secret recipe, but you got that little card where it's like grandma's cake recipe and it has all the ingredients and what to do. Lead generation is that simple. Now we overcomplicate, right? We tend to build plans in possibility instead of probability, right? Business is better built on consistency than it is complexity. And so by that, I mean, when I say to someone, build a lead generation recipe, let's say you want to build your business on social media, right? Most people say, okay, I'm going to go on social media. Okay, what does that mean? You're just going to post, there's no strategy behind that. So the recipe is as simple as this. Maybe you say, okay, here's my lead generation recipe. Here's my social media cake recipe. I'm going to post one personal post a day, one business post a day, and I'm going to do that for 30 days, right? I'm going to let it bake for 30 days. And I got to put all the ingredients in. I'm going to let it bake for 30 days. And when it comes out, I'm going to taste it and see, is that what I was hoping for? Did it produce 3 potential buyers and 1 closed buyer, whatever it was? If it did, awesome. Maybe I just bake that same cake again. Maybe I tweak it a little bit, right? Maybe nothing happened. And you say, all right, that didn't work. Maybe next month, the secret recipe should be 2 personal posts a day, 1 business post for 30 days, and I'm going to try that again, right? Good lead generation is just the development over time of trial and error. It really is. It took me 3 years to really hone in on what was going to get me 50 deals a year by relationship. It was just tweaking over and over and over again to really figure out what I needed to do. So we overcomplicate it, and or Kim, and you know this well, and or an agent says, well, that recipe didn't work. Well, did it not work or did you not work it, right? Did you
There
do
you go.
one personal post a day and never a business post? Well, no wonder. If grandma put in all the flour and the eggs, but no chocolate or whatever, and she skipped 2/3 of the ingredients, she would never say the cake recipe's messed up. She would say, hold on, I need to do that again and do it right. Agents have this flaw that it didn't work, and so it must be somebody else's problem. Maybe you just didn't do the work, right? That's what this looks like. So at a basic sense, the lead generation recipe is as simple as whatever you're trying to build, open houses, referrals, whatever it is, I don't care. Figure out your ingredients, bake the cake for at least 30 days, see what came out, and just taste and tweak until it gets you the results you want. I literally think it's that simple.
It is.
Excuse
It
me.
is.
Yeah. So that's the predictability part. Predictable because when I know the input, I know the output, right? Most agents always hope for the output, but they never know what input to do to get there.
Right.
Then you move to the profitability, the dollar productivity part. And I think here's the flaw for a lot of us. I actually had a conversation, Kim, literally yesterday with an agent who said, okay, Garrett, I have $2,500 I want to spend for the rest of the year on marketing. What should I do? And I said, all right, before I give you an answer, let's hop on a call. And so my first question to her was, have you done everything free that you can think of that might move the needle in your business? Well, no. Okay, well then tell me this. Why would you all of a sudden just go spend money that you haven't even proved that you have to spend yet? What are the free things we could do that's going to actually push your business forward? Oh, I guess I could just call and reach out to some people in my database, then do that first, right? Why don't we try that first, see if it moves the needle before we start dropping money? So when I came into the industry, I've been 100% referral day one, never done an open house or bought a lead or made a cold call ever. And I came in though, and I thought, okay, I got to do these big client events. So they're $2,500 a piece. I was doing the nice shiny mailers, right? The nice pop by gifts, all of those things. And I got to the point, Kim, where I said, okay, I wonder what would happen. I was selling 50 homes a year. If I cut my budget, I remember this, if I cut my budget for parties from 2,500 to 800, I wonder what would happen. And I cut them to 800. Guess what happened? Nothing. I sold the exact same amount of homes. And then the next year I said, okay, if I downgrade my mailers and I downgrade the Popeye gift that I bring, I wonder what will happen. I brought that down, nothing. I went from spending about 35 grand a year to about 10 grand a year, and my business stayed the exact same. The challenge in our industry is we think, oh, I put $1 in and I got $3 out. I guess I'll just keep doing that. Hey, I want to start doing YouTube videos. And, before you know it, before you've even done it, you go buy the really fancy equipment for all the YouTube videos and you hire the videographer and you do all the things. What if you went to the local university, got for $500, got an intern that wanted to do it, a student that wanted to do it, buy the cheaper thing, test out the lower cost, see if it gets you where you want to go before you start investing the money. Agents are really, really good at spending money we don't have and money we don't need to spend. So, and it breaks that down in a deeper way in the book. And then ultimately, the A is the alignment piece, right? That authenticity part. And it stems from, well, certainly for me in my faith, the Lord wired you very specifically. So the industry often is sitting there telling us, you need to be all things to all people. I mean, I was at a point in my business, Kim, I was selling 50 homes a year, I'd done that 2 years in a row. I hired a coach. I'd only ever done it by referral. I get on the phone with the coach and I say, she was super, super awesome. And I say, here's my stated goal. I don't want to sell more homes. I just want to do this in less time. I want to go home, right? I want to spend more time with my family. And she said, okay. And we're having a conversation. At the end of the conversation, or at the end of the call, Kim, she says, all right, Garrett, here's your homework for this week. You need to cold call 300 people and need to go door knock 100 doors. And I said, I'm not going to do that. And she said, Garrett, you're not going to be successful. That's how she responded to me. We get off the phone. We get on the phone the next week. She said, do you do your homework? I said, no, I told you I wasn't going to do my homework. Garrett, you're not going to be successful. 300 cold calls, 100 door knocks. And I remember telling her, I said, I appreciate your perspective, but I disagree with you. I'm already in the top 1%. I feel really good about my business. And my goal is to go home more often. Why do I need to do all of these other things? And she didn't have an answer to it. And so we broke that relationship off, right? What I started to realize was the industry thinks there's a one size fits all. Albert Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. We have a lot of fish in our industry that would be really good at swimming, but the industry saying, no, 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 you need to climb trees. What does that mean for us? If you don't like social media, that's okay. Maybe you're really good at relationships. Go build your business on that. That's who you are. You're naturally going to show up more consistently and better in a way that aligns with who you are, right? If you love cold calling, then go be excellent at it. If you love relationships, then go be excellent. If you love social media, go be excellent. That's okay. But we can't be all things to all people. There's no one size fits all. We must first determine not what are all the things I need to do. The right question is, who was I wired to be? Let me go be excellent at that, right? Figure out who you are first and then pursue excellence in that. That's what winning looks like in this industry. And that's how we avoid the burnout that comes from being on the phones for 3 hours a day if that's totally not who we are.
Right. So when you first started, you made a comment that you started immediately as a referral agent. How did you do that?
Yeah. So, well, it took me 5.5 months to make a sale, right? So it didn't work right away. But I did all the classes. I went to cold calling and door knocking, open house and buying leads and all those things. Yeah, I was only 27, Kim, but I had enough wherewithal to say in 5 years from now, if I had a big business, but it was built on whatever, cold calling, that's not who I am. I won't even want that business. And so I made a commitment to say, if this is going to work, it has to work the way that makes sense to me. Again, I'm a 27-year-old kid. I don't know a lot, but I at least knew that. And so I just spent the time trying to become a master at that one thing. Okay, I looked around and said, there's a lot of agents that I personally know that have succeeded selling by relationship. So it's clearly possible. Now I just got to go figure it out and understand how it works and then take those actions more often. I mean, I understood that it was probably that simple. And so for the first couple months, I mean, nothing was happening that I could see. It was happening underground, right? The seeds that I was sowing and watering were working, but I only had 40 people in my database. There were not many people that I knew. I wasn't from this area, right? So what wasn't like I came in with a huge group of people. And a lot of it was trial and error. Again, it was failure moments. Early on, I'll tell you a story, Kim. Early on, I was also leading music at our church. One of the guys that played on the music team with me, named Jimmy, he was the bass player. Jimmy came up to me one Saturday afternoon. We're at a friend's birthday party. Jimmy has this huge smile on his face. I'm like, Jimmy, why are you so happy? He says, Garrett, I just bought a house And then his face dropped. He's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry. I forgot you just became a real estate agent, right?" And it was, "Jimmy, it's totally okay, buddy. Don't, you just can't be on worship team anymore." No, I'm kidding. But it was a realization for me. Okay, why did that happen? I assumed he was my friend, therefore he'd refer me.
Right.
That didn't happen. So what was going on? And so I can go really deep on this. I won't, but I started to understand and research the psychology. How do consumers make decisions? What I realized in that instance and in every other instance, people only recognize you in one context, right? They don't call the music leader at church to buy a house. I was the director of admission. They don't call the admission director to buy a house. They call a real estate agent. Well, they're only thinking about me in one context. So I have to change what that is. And so for the next 6 months, what I did when I would have conversations with these people in my database, I would always use the words database or words business, business and real estate in every conversation. So I would say, "Hey, Jimmy, great to see you at church yesterday, buddy. Hey, I wondered if you had a quick minute to talk business. I'd love to share with you what's going on in the real estate market." If I couldn't get them to think about me as a real estate agent, every opportunity was going to be gone, right?
Right.
Referrals happen like this, as you know. It's not, "Hey, do you know a great agent? Oh, let me think about it. I'll spend the next hour trying to remember who that was." It was, "No, this is who comes to mind." And so if I wasn't going to come to mind, I would never get those opportunities. And so I had to train the way they thought about me. And then I realized again, it was the consistency of effort. And so I started to build and develop my own system and the taste and tweak. And I just kept doing that until it was the one that worked. And I've been doing that ever since.
That's great. I love that, is that you took initiative.
Mhm.
And one thing that I see that agents, they want to take the initiative, but they don't know what to do. They don't know that next step. And then they
Yeah.
start procrastinating, and
Yep.
then it's too much time has gone by. So, one of the things that I was really impressed with in my research on you is that you discuss, how to protect your peace in your business.
Mm.
So, kinda talk to me about how an agent is going to do that. They seem to wake up hitting the road running until they fall in the bed at night, and then they just throw that family in and the activities in where they can around the business, and I'm always saying, "You first take care of your family, and then you work your business." And so
Yeah.
what I will tell agents is when you sit down on Sunday evening to plan your week, the first thing you put on your planner or your calendar is, what do you have to do with your family?
Mm.
Does Johnny have soccer practice? Does Katie have ballet and piano lessons? And, oh, I have a doctor's appointment. Oh, my husband and I have to meet with the CPA. Put that all down and then work your business around that. So, can you share how you do that with 5 kids?
Yeah. Well, I have to with 5 kids, right? So that's part of it. The oldest is only 8, and the
Oh,
youngest is 3.5 months. So it's a requirement. But
mm,
so it really came down to this, and I failed at this for 8 years, right? So I don't want anyone to look and say, "Well, you figured this out and you've had it all together." That wasn't true. This was failure moment for me. And it came from a moment, Kim, where I started to realize I was sitting outside and having thinking time, thinking about my business. I had a bigger team at the time, and I'd figured out a way. How do I double my profits? And I'd figure that out. But I couldn't figure out how to do it uh, without adding an extra 20 hours a week to my work. So I'd be at about 60 hours a week. And I remember in that moment, this was 3 years ago. I remember in that moment, I stopped and I just had this clarity. And I said, "Hold on, Garrett, if you could look back at this moment right now, right here, 5 years from now, who would you be most proud of? The guy who doubled his hours or spent an extra 20 hours just to make more money, but saw his family less, or the guy that maybe figured out how to work less, make the same amount of money, and showed up for his family more?" And that was a really easy answer, right? Like, that's who I want to be. Well, then I was walking back up to my office and my whiteboard's literally right there. And I wondered, why did I have a big team? Why was I doing the things I was doing in work? And I came back to my office and on my whiteboard, the only measurements I was making in my work, in my life, were number of transactions, volume, and GCI. So when I was only keeping score one way, of course I had to add agents. We needed to sell more homes. Of course I needed to add hours. I was trying to grow my volume and my profit, right? And so that moment for me was the realization, Kim, that all I had ever done was keep score the way the industry told me to keep score, right? And that moment I shifted and I said, that's not who I want to be. Now I have a scoreboard, right? I teach this in the book too. Now my scoreboard is, yeah, there's a profit goal, but now there's a wife goal and now there's a family goal. So the wife goal is 2 day dates a month. The family goal is take every 7th week off. And so what I've done is I've given myself a bigger picture of the life that I actually want to create and a better way to make decisions, right? So I'll wrap it up here with this idea. I think the challenge is we ask the wrong question, right? And if you ask a bad question, you get a bad answer. For example, I had an agent recently ask me, how do I sell 30 homes a year? And I said, that's a super easy answer. Work 140 hours a week, go borrow 100 grand and spend all of it, and you'll stumble into 30 deals, no problem. But what do you actually care about? And he said, well, I'm not going to work 140 hours a week. Okay, why? Well, I want to be at home for family dinner, right? That's super important to me. And I want to be at church on Sunday. Okay, then ask a better question. How do I build a business that sells 30 homes a year, that keeps me at home for every family dinner and allows me not to work on Sundays? That's a much better question. And when you have the right question, now you get to go solve that problem. That's a more difficult, but a better problem for you to solve because not every way is going to allow you to do that. You can't just go hit the streets for 10 hours a day, 20 hours a day, right? You actually have to say, okay, how do I get really specific? That's what happened to me. I was trying to sell 50 homes a year for the first time ever. I told my wife, I said, I think I can do it, but it's going to take like 70 hours a week. And she said, that's amazing, but I need you to do it in 40 hours or less. I was like, hold on. And I remember thinking, all right, this is a me, not just a me thing. It's an us thing. She's allowed to ask that of me. I'm her husband, but it forced me. I'm so grateful she asked me. It forced me to say, what can I do in under 40 hours a week that could sell that many homes? The only answer to me was I have to build by relationship. And so it forced me in a position to say, if I'm going to honor that, because now I have a better question, if I'm going to honor that, I have to master this. So if you want to figure out how do you protect the peace, you ask the right question. How do I sell X amount of homes while still taking every 7th week off and 2 day dates a month with my wife, whatever your scenario is? And then you figure out, how can I solve that problem? That's going to allow you to make sure that you keep the main things, and your business is not the main thing, right? It's just the vehicle. It's not going to be on your headstone at the end of your life, right?
Right.
You know, here lies Garrett. He sold 100 homes and made $1 bajillion. Nobody's going to care, right? That's not how we're going to be defined. So let's not define ourselves that way either.
Right. No, I totally understand that, and I totally support it. I've preached it for years. I even do that with my own.
Mm.
I mean, I started my business when I had 3 sons. They were little, like 1st grade,
That's
2nd
awesome.
grade, 4th grade.
Nice.
I
You were
built
crazy
that.
back then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a husband that traveled 5 days a week. So,
Wow. That's
and I
amazing.
took care of my mother-in-law. So
Wow.
I tell people, I do this when the agents are crying and they're like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Smallest violin, so
Right.
sorry,"
Exactly. Love it.
And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
everybody has something in their lives,
Mm.
and it can take up your life or you can make it a part of it. And
Hmm.
it's the way that you build your life. And, I always say, pray about it.
Mm.
Write it out. Go to ChatGPT if you have that
Hmm.
problem. ChatGPT, you be honest with ChatGPT, it'll be honest with
Hmm.
you. You may
Yep.
need to do more research to get what you're trying to define in your life, but it will help you think about areas that you haven't thought about, right?
Mm. It's good.
So, going from there, so being a referral agent, let's
Mm.
say, we talked about this a minute ago about if I'm a 10-year agent, and I've never tapped into my database because, agents are always looking at the next lead, the next shiny object. What's next? Where can I find my next sale? And if they need to just step back, sit down, look at their database. So if I'm a 10-year agent and I've never touched my database in referral marketing, what would you tell those agents? How would you tell them to get started in going backwards and
Mhm.
start nurturing those relationships and reestablishing those? So what
Yeah.
would your advice be on that?
Yeah, good question. And that is as we talked pre-show, so common. Actually, just helped a buddy of mine do this. He's been in for 21 years and had neglect. He built a team. It was built on pay-per-click and realized, man, I neglected my database for about 7 years. And so here's what I encourage him and have encouraged many others. What I told him is, I want you to send out what I call just a simple apology letter. Okay. And the letter is simply this. It's you just put it in the mail and it's, you use their name. Hey, Kim, just want you to know how much I am or how sorry I am, excuse me, how sorry I am that I've done such a poor job of staying in touch with you because your friendship really does matter to me, right? I promise I'm going to do a better job. It's just that. Now, it depends on, do they even know he's an agent, right? There's variations of that, but they're clearly aware he's an agent. These are past clients. And so he said, okay, I'll do that. And so he sends out this letter. Excuse me. Sorry, I've done such a poor job of staying in touch. I want to do better. Your friendship matters to me, right? I promise I'm going to do better. And then he followed that up the next week with the phone call. Hey, Kim, I want you to know, did you get my letter? Yeah, I did. And he was amazed that overwhelmingly most people said, no, I'm sorry too, Dave. I've done such a bad job of staying in touch with you, right? And so they're apologizing to him, but he's just saying, I really have, like, my business is really built to care for people I care about most, like you, and I've not done a great job, and I'm going to do better. So please be on the lookout for, invitations to our next client event or whatever the scenario would be, because I really do care about you and your husband or whatever the scenario is, and investing in that relationship, right? So thanks for being gracious with me. I look forward to staying in touch. That simple. The opposite of that, right? What's the other alternative? The other alternative is what a lot of agents do. I'm just going to start mailing them, right? I'm just going to start reaching out to them. Well, that's going through the back door and nobody gave you permission. That's kind of weird. Like, why did you come out of nowhere? We haven't talked in years. So there needs to be a moment where you plant your stake in the ground and say, I'm sorry, but now I'm going to do better. And someone says, totally okay. I get it, right? We're going to have that conversation. We're going to reconcile, if you will. It's totally okay. We're going to have that conversation. And then you follow up with the system. And now they're not like, why is he reaching out to me all of a sudden? It's, oh, he actually said he was going to do better. Look, he is doing better. He's actually reaching out to me. And so I think if we don't go that far, and a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to apologize. Well, get over yourself and do it anyways, because you're the one that dropped the ball. Like, just take responsibility for it and initiate that. People will appreciate you for saying, hey, that's on me. And again, for Dave, the majority of people are like, no, that's me too, Dave. I'm so sorry. And he's like, it's okay. I want to do better. I'm going to be in touch with you. So I really think it's that simple. I've helped a lot of people do that. Not everybody wants to, but they do it. And it works. And then it's now you could just get back to the system, right? If you've let them go for that long, you got to do something to reinvigorate that relationship.
Well, and what I'm taking away from that is that, number one, the agent needs to get out of their way, their own
Yes.
lane, get out of your ego. There's no
Yes.
ego in this,
Right.
and just do it. And what I would think if an agent called me and did that after, 5 years, I would probably be going, "Oh my gosh, what a great person to
Mhm.
apologize,"
Yeah.
That will stay with me,
Yep.
and I will think about that over, like, wow, it'll just pop in your mind. That's just nature.
Yes.
And,
100%.
so if there's an agent out there listening that talks, that you're kind of hesitant to go back into your database, then take Garrett's advice, do the letter, and then do the follow-up. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. So let's say, okay, let's shift gears.
Yep.
So with your database and you're doing the referral marketing, kind
Mhm.
of tell us what that strategy looks like.
Mhm.
What all do you send? Do you send things to them? Do you call them? What do you do to nurture that relationship?
Super, super simple. So again, this is my own lead generation recipe, right? What I realized for me, Kim, is I love simplicity, right? Simplicity scales, complexity fails. I needed something that I could do month after month after month. So when someone says, how have you done so well in this industry? For 10 years, I've never missed a month of what I'm supposed to do. That's how. It's just that, right? So here's the simple plan. It is so easy. So they're going to get 36 touches, right? We're familiar with that.
Right.
They're 12 mailers a year, so once a month they get a physical postcard, not a mailer they got to open because they're not going to open it. We open our mail over the trash can, right? So a postcard that they just see me. Every month they get an email. Totally normal. That's fine, right? Low value touches, just being there because I said I was going to show up. Then I break down my personal touches quarterly. So every quarter is the same thing. So what that means is the first month of the quarter, say January. In January, month one of quarter one, I'm going to send a video text to everyone in my database. You could call them, you could send them a direct text, whatever it is. It depends on your database and how they want to be communicated with, right? Mine is a video text to everybody. Hey, Kim, wanted to say Happy New Year. I hope you had an amazing holiday season. Can't wait to see you at some of our events this year. If I can ever serve you or your family, let me know. I'm always here to help, right? Not even talking about real estate that much. Month two is a handwritten note or a Popeye gift, and I can break down anything. Month three is a client event. And for those that can't come, that are my best people, I sit down and have coffee with them. And then it just repeats. I mean, so quarter two, the first month, video text. Second month, note and Popeye. Third month, client event, client coffee. It makes it so, number one, when I was out pre-COVID, I was out traveling a lot teaching this. And the consistent problem that agents had, and you probably are fully aware of this, the consistent problem that agents had is they either didn't know what to do, right? And if they did, they didn't do it often enough. But also in the relational world, they would say, well, I want to reach out to so-and-so, but I can't remember if I talked to them last month. So I don't want to bother them again. All right. Then you go a year and you say nothing, and that's not how this works. So when I created the system, it was, I know that in November of 2035, we'll be writing notes and doing Popeyes, right? I can pre-plan everything. I know exactly what's going to happen, and everybody gets the same touch each month. So I know that this month, as we're recording in October 2025, everyone's gotten a video text. I don't have to wonder in November, wait, did I reach out to that person or not? I know what I did. I already know who I reached out to and how I reached out to them. So we made it really, really simple. And so I could do it repeatedly, right? Over and over and over again. My mom passed away in October 2022. And even that month, because it was so simple, I was able to get the lead generation done later in that month. She passed away October 4th. I was still able to get it done. Why? Because it was simple. I knew exactly what I needed to do, right? And we took care of it. The next month, notes and I got right back on it. I didn't want to do anything, but I got right back on it. I knew what to do. It was simple. It was easy. I executed it fine, right? So that's literally it for 10 years in a row, over and over and over again. It's the consistency of care. It's consistency. Yep.
It's always about consistency.
Yep.
If you do it over and over and over, and then people will become expecting it. We have clients, we send out a Monday morning inspiration for those clients that want to tap into it. And it's a feel good. It's not a real estate thing. It's just about feeling good. And we're very consistent. It goes out Monday morning before 10 a.m. and it goes out to everybody in the database. Those agents that tap into that, they will tell me, I get a response from that over market stats, my newsletter, or
Absolutely.
and because it's just a feel good, and it has nothing to do with the business. And people appreciate that. So that's where we go back to something personal, something business, something personal, something business. You've got to integrate it. So here's another question. So when you've developed this system for yourself, one thing that agents need to understand is, get organized, sit down and, if you follow what Garrett is saying, then you need to say, okay, first quarter of every month, I need to do this, put it in the calendar, allow that time. And then what are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about the market stats? Are you going to talk about, how to do something with your home, or anything, but be consistent. And then make sure that your postcards are ready to go. You've got to be organized, and you have to create that system before you just jump in and say, oh, I love that idea, I'm going to do it. Strategy in place and then implement it. And so by doing that, we come up with, how do I add? Well, so what systems are you using? What programs do you use in your business that agents could probably look at and say, oh, that would be a good one for me?
Yeah, it's really complex. It's a Google spreadsheet and a Microsoft Word.
There you go.
That is so in December, I will pre-plan the entire year. And so two things that happen then is I've planned out, right? I know what the mailer is going to be. We've already designed them in December, so they're done for the whole year. I know what I'm going to say in January, what we're going to talk about in February. Everything's done. It's literally done.
Love it.
because we don't accidentally do things that are hard. So if I'm in January, like I should do some lead gen, but I had a really tough morning, I'm not going to lead generate. So I take that plan. It's done for the whole year. I already know exactly what it's going to be. And I take that plan, I print off the blank calendars for the whole year. And I literally, it's all it is a lead gen calendar for me, Kim. And so let's say February, I'm writing notes and I have 250 notes to write. Well, I can decide I'm going to take 10 days and write 25 notes a day. Okay. I just go to the February calendar, write 25 notes here, 25 notes there, and just fill it up, right? 10 days of 25 notes. And I do that for every single day of the year. So, there's a lot of blank days where I don't have any lead generation, but all I do is show up in my office that day, pull out my calendar and say, oh, I have nothing to do today. Or, oh, 25 notes. Let's knock that out. It is that simple. I mean, it really is. It's
It really
just,
is.
again, we create these plans. And I think I mentioned earlier, we create lead generation plans on what's possible, right? In this assumption that everything's going to go right for the entire year. And so look at my amazing lead generation plan. Well, what I've started to do is ask people, as agents in my organization, okay, great plan. What's the probability that you're actually going to do all of that for the entire year? What's the probability? Most of them say, 50, 60%. Okay, then it's too complex. Let's cut it, right? Come back to me. Okay, what's the probability? 80%. Awesome. Keep cutting until it's 90 to 100%. If you don't feel confident, you're going to do it right now when you're not even doing it. Nothing's even happened in your life. You're just waiting for next year. If you're not even confident now, I guarantee you'll get knocked off course next year. You're going to get knocked off course probably in month 2, and you'll never get back to it. It needs to be so simple that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I'm going to do it. I pre-planned for it. And even if when something happens, because it will, my mom passed away, when you need to be somewhere with somebody you love, you don't have to sit there and say, oh my gosh, my entire plan is 20 hours of cold calling a day, door knocking 100,000 houses each day. Now you just say, it's this simple. I know I can still get it done. I'm not getting behind. It's okay. It allows me to be fully present with my mom. It allows me to know that my business is still going to be okay because I can still push it forward, right? We've got to think in simplicity, and then we've got to learn to think in 90 to 100% probability.
Yeah. Love that. I just love this so much. Because, it's all about the relationship. And
Yeah.
and so even for those new agents, if you don't have anybody in your database, they say, reach out to your family, your friends. Well, they're going to be the last ones. So
Mhm.
get out there and talk to your community. I was working with an agent the other day and she is from one state, moved across the country to another state, and she's starting all over. She's in her
Mhm.
mid-50s, and she said, I'm starting over. Well, first of all, kudos to you for starting over at 50,
Seriously, right.
And so
Seriously.
but what she was struggling with is, I don't know where to start. This is a whole I mean, even the lifestyle is different, so
Mhm.
and I'll just say she went from California to Tennessee. So,
Mhm.
that's a huge awakening in my
Mhm. Mhm.
and so what we decided is she loves to be with people. She loves to talk to people. So I said, why don't you target your neighborhood? There was about I think she said 200 homes in her own neighborhood. I said, go out there, introduce yourself. Well, there's 3 other agents. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's
They're
200
probably not doing
homes.
anything. Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't mean a lot. It just means that there's 2 other realtors and
Mm.
they may not even be marketing to your neighbor,
Mhm. Mhm.
which most likely they're not.
Yep.
As people probably already know because they've lived there for a while. But then let's target another neighborhood, a totally different demographics. So what we decided on is new home buyers that are ready to move up. So these are the first
Mm.
time home buyers
Mm.
that have had more children, gotten a promotion, an increase in their salary, or something where they're ready to move. So she is very excited about that. And that's what I tell other agents is that if you're struggling where to find your audience, that starter neighborhood is a great place to go because they are the ones that have only bought a home one time. They've
Mm.
never sold. So now you're gonna get their home to sell it, and you
Mm.
can show them how to do that while you're helping them buy a new home. So I said
Mhm.
it's
It's
just a
good.
win-win situation.
Yep.
For any agent that doesn't have a database, that's a good way to get started. Would you
No
agree?
doubt. Absolutely.
Right.
Or go to the same coffee shop or,
Yes.
go to church and meet those people.
Yeah.
It is get belly to belly, be in a relationship. Relationships will trump good marketing every day.
Every
It
day.
it doesn't matter if a friend of mine is an amazing cold caller and he buys Zillow leads or whatever, and he calls someone, right? And they have a great conversation. And then that same person goes and talks to a friend and like, hey, Garrett will take really good care of you. They're going to choose me 100% of the time. And
Mhm.
so we do forget that. Well, they're already known. I don't care, right? You don't have a relationship with someone, go build those. So yeah, there's people everywhere ready to get in a relationship. And if you're introverted, that's okay too, right?
Mm.
You can go meet the people that don't want to talk to the person that's loud like me.
Right.
That's good too. There's lots of people out there for us to be in a relationship with.
Sure. And you gravitate people gravitate to that personality,
Mhm.
so if you are, an outgoing person and you walk into a room, people gravitate. But if you're the quiet person that walks into the room, then you have to kind of put yourself in that atmosphere.
Yes.
Maybe, so what I'm pretty outgoing. I can probably walk in a room and meet everybody and be friends with everybody when I leave. I've always been like that. That's
Yeah.
just the way I am. But I have friends that, are not like that. And so I tell them, I say, just hang on to me. We're going to get in there. And I have one friend that is so shy, she can't stand it. She's afraid
Mm,
of her own shadow.
mm,
And so every time we go somewhere, I pull her in and put her right beside me. And then when I'm talking to people, I'll introduce her. And then you can see that shell opening up,
mm,
right? So, don't let, and then people say, well, I'm afraid of people hanging up on me.
mm,
Okay, I
mm,
go back to when I was in Mary Kay and I first moved to my little town and knew nobody, and I opened up the yellow the white pages of the phone book, got on the phone and was calling. If they hung up on me, Mary Kay taught me, well, that's their loss, not mine. That's their
mm,
loss, not mine. And
mm.
when you say that, it builds what's the word? Build your
Confidence?
ego,
Yeah,
confidence, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
And, so you have to find what's going to work. Not
yeah.
everybody wants to make phone calls. Not
Yep,
everybody wants to go to the coffee shop. Okay, fine. But maybe your kid is in a mommy and me program.
yep,
Well, meet them. Meet them.
mhm,
You
yeah,
know,
100%.
you know,
Yep,
I was last night watching my little 2-year-old granddaughter at her mommy and me class, and, I was like, "Man, if she would gravitate to that," that's where I was sitting there thinking, if
mm,
she had gravitated to that little girl, those 2 mothers could become best friends, then the
mm,
dads become friends, and then you meet people out in their circles, so
mhm,
that's how you get to know people,
yep,
I
100%.
mean, that's the
Yeah.
way I look at it.
There are people everywhere, and so there's no
Yeah,
excuse, right? If you have a desire to build something, then go out and do the work, and it's gonna be a little bit uncomfortable for a little while. That's
yeah,
fine, but it's more uncomfortable to be broke, right? It's more uncomfortable to be sitting there wondering, "How am I gonna put food on the table for my kids?" Alright,
mhm,
they're all hard, just do the hard thing that's gonna actually lead to a result. So,
right,
yeah, I mean, I'm a highly relational person. I don't wanna get rejected either. That wasn't fun when I was
yeah,
qualifying my database, and they're like, "Actually, sorry, Garrett, I already have a friend." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how is it not me?" Like, yeah, those hurt. Okay. Are you willing to take the hits to build something bigger for your family? If not, then I don't know why you're in this industry, right? So have a little bit of gumption, have a backbone, and go do the work and build
and
something.
And don't look at the numbers, like somebody asked me the other day, literally asked me, they said, "Well, I have been following you for a long time, and I've noticed that your social media numbers are just not like in the thousands,
Mhm.
100,000s." And I went, not going after those people.
Yeah,
I
right.
only gravitate to people that wanna hear what we do.
Mhm.
And you know what? I'm okay with that because I
Yep.
may only have 700 people following me on, say, Facebook, but those 700 people are listening,
Mhm.
and and I'm not getting lost into,
Yeah.
their chatter, they
Right.
paid
You're right.
attention.
Yeah.
So, don't worry about the numbers, just do it, and the
Yeah.
numbers will take care of themselves,
No
right?
doubt. Yep. Yep.
So,
Yeah, some of the numbers are just vanity metrics, right? Like,
exactly,
great, you have a lot of followers and they live in Australia. Guess what? They're never gonna buy a house,
no.
right? Not from
That's
you
why
at least.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so let me share this is a really good story to share real quick. So, years ago, I was probably about 7 years into the business, and I got a phone call from a woman that, she had a really good reputation in her community.
Mm,
She was from a very large community, and she and her husband had built a team and were great. And, we're talking about what she needs to do to market. I want to get more business. I want to meet more people. And we were talking, and and she finally said, I want as many followers, if not more, than my sister.
mm,
I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, her numbers weren't that bad,
mm,
and I said, "Okay, so what is it your sister does for a living?" "Well, she's an actress." And I
mm,
said, "Okay." And then she told me the name of the actress. I'm not gonna share it, but, I just started laughing, and I said, I hate to say this to you," and I'll call her Mona. I said, "Mona," I said, "your sister is worldwide.
mhm.
You're never going to have
Yeah.
those many people following you."
Mm,
And I said, "And you don't want those many. You don't want that many following you.
mhm.
You want the people in your community following you and paying attention to you, not
That's
the
right.
people, outside of your community, period." And
Mhm,
once she understood that, she was able to build outside of that because she was so
mhm,
focused on what somebody else was doing,
mhm.
she couldn't get out of her own way. So
Yeah,
that's why I tell
good.
people, "It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing, do
No, it
you."
doesn't. Yeah, absolutely. It's vanity metric. If someone could show me that for every whatever 1,000 followers, I sold 10 houses or whatever, okay, maybe I'd go for that number. But I imagine it dwindles as the bigger it gets, the worse the conversion and ratio, right? And so, yeah, but it is vanity. It is this metric that we feel. We had, I talked to a guest on our show, I think at one point, I think this is where it came from. And she said, "Look, you have two opportunities. Everything you do, you either put it in your ego account or you put it in your bank account. I'd rather put it in my bank account." I'm like, "Man, that's such a good point." Yeah, and a lot of social media, that's what it is. It's the ego account. It's not
Yeah.
actually doing anything for your business.
Oh, that was great. Thank you
Yeah,
for saying that.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what is one thing an agent can implement as soon as they hear this podcast? What would you say that they could go out and implement right now?
Yeah. Well, they could pray, which we agree on that, right, Kim?
Yes, we do.
Definitely seek the Lord's wisdom. But I would say the first thing they can do is intentionally get belly to belly with people. And that is invite some of your favorite people to coffee. And invite some of your past clients to coffee. They want to refer you. You're just not talking to them anymore. And even if you are talking to them, they want to see you face to face. They want to get to know you more. And so I would say that's the first thing. If you're going to do anything from here, I'd say go schedule 3 client coffees. Just that. You don't
Yeah.
need to talk about business. Just talk to them like they're a person because they are. And I
Mhm.
would do that. And when you see the momentum and the engagement of that, whether you're introverted, extrovert, doesn't matter. You see the engagement of people who know you, like you, trust you. It's going to encourage you to continue to be in relationship with those people in a more intentional way.
Right. And I would think that if they're not interested, it's okay. Don't take it
Yeah.
personally, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely right. Yeah.
So just
100%.
move on to the next person, and,
Yep.
the numbers will take care of themselves.
Yes, they will.
Okay, so I can't tell you how much I appreciated you being
Yeah.
here today. I love this topic. So tell us a little bit about your book, where it can be found, and all the details because I know everybody's gonna run out and buy it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I appreciate it, Kim. It's such a pleasure to talk to a like-minded person for sure. But yeah, so the book, The Balance Breakthrough: Winning at Work Without Losing at Life. My this is my hope for the industry, for us to define success in our own way, to be equipped to do it. That's what the PDA formula is, to be equipped to actually go achieve that. And then how do we live intentionally in light of those things? But for me, Kim, my heart in writing this was the end game is the restoration of the family for real estate agents, right? Because I've met too many people who have made the sacrifice of family or the sacrifice of a ton of family time because they think that's what the business requires, and they've just never been shown that there's a better way. And so I hope, and anybody can read it, but I hope that one day, Lord willing, I'll meet a kid who says, "Mr. Garrett, thank you so much for writing your book. I get to see my mom a lot more." Like,
There you go.
that's the win to me, right? So, whether that's you or somebody like, I'd love for you to grab it or reach out to me directly, whatever is better. But they can grab it anywhere, Barnes& and Noble, Amazon, go look it up. It'll be out in about a month from now, so right before Thanksgiving, it comes out, and, really just hopeful that it makes an impact in the industry for sure, so I hope they'll go grab it.
Oh, I think they will. And then, how else can people reach out to you?
Yeah. So like you, I'm not that fun on Instagram either, apparently. But they can reach out to me there if they want, just at Garrett Maroon, GarrettMaroon. I'd love to connect there. I really do care more about the individual than go buy the book. You don't have to buy the book. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd love for you to, but like if you're struggling, and especially if you're a mom or dad and you're like, how do I do this? I honestly would love to help, because I care about your kids and I care about your family. And so I'd love for them to reach out to me there too.
Yeah. Well, when they do this and they get organized in their life and they put the right things in place, that mental health takes care of
Mm,
itself
it
too,
does.
you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
So, but, again, everybody has something going on in their lives and you've got to honor it and then deal with it. And then how are you going to move forward with it? And
Hmm.
then how are you going to work your business around yourself? And I love that you talk
Yeah.
about it that way. And because one thing that I did do when I was growing my business was my kids came first.
Mm,
And I even had it in my contract that I had Fridays off because
that's
I
awesome.
had 3 kids who played
Yeah.
sports on Friday night,
That's amazing. I
and
love
I
that.
had to go to pep rally.
That's awesome.
I put that in and I honored it, and so, therefore, I was always available to my children, and so, that sometimes you can get kinda distracted, especially with everybody's phones in their face, is put the phones down and spend the time together.
Mm, love that. That's so good, Kim. And it's such a reminder of who are we trying to build this business with? The person that's going to honor that you're off on Fridays, or the person that expects you to show up 24/7? You get to choose. That's what freedom is in this industry. You get to choose who you work with. Be excellent at generating business because then you can make a choice, but then hold true to who you are. If that's Fridays off, then take Fridays off. If they don't like it, say that's fine. Please go find somebody else.
That's
Right?
what I did,
You
and people
determine.
honored that.
They will
People
honor that.
appreciated that,
Yeah.
and I would tell them, "Look, if you have an emergency on Friday, let me know.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can deal with it, but if not,
Yes.
it'll wait till Monday,"
Yes.
and
I
nobody
told
really had a problem with it.
I have told people all the time, Cam, if I can't take care of my family, I certainly can't take care of yours. This
Oh,
is how I protect
100%.
that. Right? Yeah, it's exactly what you did. And they would say, good for you.
Yeah.
Right? Proud of. And if they don't, hey, it's okay. If you want someone who's available 24/7, it's not me. Please don't work with me because you will not like your
You won't
experience.
be happy.
It is okay. Go find somebody else, right? But yeah, we need to hold that line. I love that you held that line. That's if more of us did that, the industry would change,
Yeah,
right? Where it wouldn't be an expectation that you answer at 10 p.m. on Sunday night.
right.
We need even from other agents, right? There is one of the challenges there. So I think you're exactly right. It's determine what kind of life you want to live. At the end of your life, what's going to be on your headstone? For me, I hope it's follower of Jesus, great husband, loving dad,
Yeah,
good friend, whatever. It's not going to be my real estate stats. And so if
yeah,
that's true, which it is, then what kind of life am I pursuing today? And is it just about real estate stats or is it about the things that will matter long term? And I hope that that's what we start building towards.
yeah, and it's teaching your children the same
Yeah,
philosophy,
it's true.
so remember that your children watch. They may not say it, but they're
Yeah,
watching you.
no doubt they are.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
Okay, well, Garrett, thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
do appreciate it. I'd love to have you back. I love this topic,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
I really think that agents are gonna walk away after listening to this with some excitement that it's not hard. Just do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anybody can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm not from here. Get out and do the work, right? It's amazing how success is based on the work that you do,
yeah,
right? So they can get out and do it. Yeah. Thank you
yeah.
for having me, Kim.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you know someone, and I bet you do, who would appreciate this podcast, please share it with them. As a reminder, this podcast can be delivered directly to your favorite device by using the subscribe links you can find in the show notes below or over at unstoppablerealestateagents.com. Remember, it takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. Have a great day.